with a sixth IndyCar title under his belt, it could be around for a while yet. Joining us now is IndyCar champion and New Zealand motorsport legend Scott Dixon. Scott, good morning and welcome to the AM show from New Zealand. Congratulations, mate. Well done again.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for having me on. It's a shame that I'm not down there. Normally it's around this time of year I get to actually kick back a little bit and head down to New Zealand and get that good Kiwi summer. But I don't know, this COVID jazz is a real bummer for this whole year.
It really is. It's more than a bummer. If you came here, we'll try and slip you through quarantine, but I don't know. It's very hard to get through quarantine. Hey, what an amazing, another amazing year. You've got 6 titles, and I think you've been quoted as saying, yeah, 6 is good, but 7 sounds better, because 7 would make you equal to the greatest ever, I suppose.
Yeah, it's definitely it's been a wild ride. I think 19 years with this team and obviously 6 championships. Chips Ganassi, the team owner, his 13th in IndyCar series, which is definitely a huge accomplishment. The Indy 500 slipped away from us this year. I was hoping to get our second Indianapolis 500, which was a bit of a bummer. But no, I love the sport. I still I feel very lucky, very privileged to get what I do and do for a living, and that fire is still burning strong. And looking forward to the season. We start testing actually, I think tomorrow. And through the next 3 weeks. So the season will kick off for 2021 starts right away.
And there's no pre-season, it's just all season, isn't it? Do you when you look back at the photos of you in the go-kart, back in New Zealand, and when you're a young fella growing up with hopes and dreams, like lots of young New Zealand kids, do you pinch yourself and think, man, this went pretty well, this went pretty big for me?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of those are probably my best racing memories. Going to the track with my mum and dad and brothers and sisters. Throughout those years. Camping all the time. Nothing beats New Zealand, man. I miss living back in New Zealand so much, and try to get down at least a couple of times a year. But it gets tricky here and there. But go karting is where I started. It's where most of anybody I think in this industry starts out. America's a little bit different with dirt tracks and things like that, but it's the start of a racing dream. But for me, again, those were my best memories. It was just so kind of relaxing and not as political, I think, in those situations, and those memories were huge. Can
you explain to New Zealanders who watch it, or even who don't, who look at this and think, what sort of race is this? How hard is this? How difficult is this? What are the tricks to being the IndyCar champion, and how do I stay on the race course effectively? What's the hardest thing about what you do?
I think, like anything, you're competing against the best in the world. There's really 3 prime categories. I think around the world, you've got Formula One, NASCAR and IndyCar. IndyCar is a little bit different in the fact that you have short ovals, smaller oval tracks, and you have larger on super speedways. Like, the largest one-day sporting event in the world still is the Indianapolis 500 with almost 400,000 fans on race day, to street courses, racing around the streets, to, permanent road courses like we have in New Zealand. So there's so many different disciplines. You can't really be good at one thing. You have to be, a good all-rounder, but also dominate. And just with the competition, I think over the last, sort of 5-6 years, it's become even tougher. The cars are becoming very, very similar. There's no, big difference between money and teams and size of teams and, drivers and all that kind of stuff. So, right now, each race you go to, there's a good 15 people that have an opportunity to win. So, I think the competition level is tough. But again, it's like anything, it evolves, whether it's trying to better yourself physically. We train, 2 hours a day, every day in the morning, and then, 3 days a week, it's 2 hours in the afternoon as well, to the mental capacity and trying to make decisions at, 240 miles an hour, almost 400 kilometers per hour at Indianapolis racing, inches apart. So it's pretty crazy, but I've been doing it for a while and I love what I do.
You mentioned NASCAR there, which is the other big racing category in America. What is it that Americans love about cars going round and oval? Because the untrained eye might go, well, just go round and round and round and round. So what's so difficult about that?
Yeah, it is very difficult. It is hard to explain. And I think it almost, unfortunately, TV doesn't do it any justice. You kind of have to go there and see the speeds, and Indianapolis is like that. When an Indy car goes into turn 1 at 400 kilometers per hour, just the sound of it and the sight of it and the smells, everything, the atmosphere is insane. And trying to keep a car on the edge, at that speed for almost 3 hours is it really just, you're mentally drained after it. So, and obviously you see the consequences of it. I had a massive crash in 2017. You're flying more than a football field. You know, the car's blown to pieces, and unfortunately, still in modern day racing, you're seeing some friends, lose their lives. So, I think there's always the risk factor, the crash factor that fans go to see. I think really entices people. But America is a little bit different in some ways. But I think IndyCar really grabs all the attention of many different kinds of formulas, not just going around in circles. But I will say it's extremely tough to do.
So we got a champion on this side of the world who's now having a crack at Scott McLaughlin. How difficult do you reckon he's going to find that?
It's very different. He had his first crack at it this weekend in St. Pete, and it's definitely a steep mountain to climb. Obviously coming in at the end of a season when everybody's had a full season of running, he's coming with one of the best teams. It's really between 3 or 4, I think, when you fight it out, they have the best combinations of drivers and cars and all that kind of stuff with Ganassi, Penske, and Andretti. But he's coming over with Penske. He's had a tremendous 3, 4, 5 seasons in supercars. He's a hell of a talent, and I'm just happy, man. There's another Kiwi on the grid. It's been a long-awaited time, and he's a huge talent. I'm so excited for him to be over here racing.
You called him a beast, Scott, which I loved, and I think he'd appreciate that too. But how much longer, realistically, do you think you can do this for, mentally, physically, even the cost of it?
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's really hard to put a number on it. I think contractually, it's going to be a good 2-3+ years. Where that goes after that, I think then, you kind of transition maybe into sports car racing, but, there's still very competitive drivers. Look at Sato, who won the Indianapolis 500 this year. I think he's almost 45. TK will be coming back next year at 46. Jimmy Johnson, 7-time NASCAR champion, will be joining me at Chip Ganassi Racing next year. He's 45. So, I'm 40 this year. I've still got, maybe a good 5 years, I hope. I love the sport. I think it's really a personal choice and decision. When it's probably when the small things really start to annoy you, and you're like, this doesn't make sense. So, right now I'm not getting too annoyed. Obviously, I'm pretty happy after winning another championship, but we'll see how the next few years go. But I love what I do, and I'm so excited to get going for next year.
Have you had any moments where you've truly feared for your life, when you've thought, shoot, that was just a bit too close for comfort?
I think, you've probably got to be a little bit mental doing what we do in some scenarios, in the fact of, you always think it's never going to be you, or you're never going to be in that situation. But I have had, close friends that, in 2003 with Tony Renner, Dan Weldon, Justin Wilson, so it's hard when you see the other side of it, right? It's seeing when those people are gone, and their family, their kids, and having to deal with the emotions of losing their dad. So I don't know. I think it's always in the back of your mind, in understanding a little bit of the consequences. But when you kind of put the helmet on and you're out there, and it's something I love to do. It's something I've done since I was 7 years old. Not obviously at these speeds and maybe this risk level. But, to me, not doing it would be much more of a loss than, thinking about the consequences and ultimately maybe, succumbing to that. But, there are moments where you have, big crashes. In 2003, I broke my pelvis and, ankle and hands and all that kind of situation, to the big crash in 2017 that featured in the Born Racer movie. So, yes, it says it right on the back of the ticket that it's a dangerous sport. We all know that. But, hopefully everything's going to be okay. And we're lucky to live in the era that we do, with the safety and the advancements that they've had.
Sorry, Jimmy Johnson, as you mentioned him before, now this guy's a huge star in America and NASCAR. I watched that Netflix Drive to Survive, which was about Formula One, and the teammates are at each other's throats, and he's your worst enemy. How's this guy going to help you?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, Formula One's a little bit more different. I don't know why or how or what or why they've set it up the way they have. I think obviously when you look at documentaries, they kind of play on things a little bit differently. And I think when you know the sport, you kind of know the people that get on and don't. And they kind of hone into the people that don't, because it makes it look, more special. But I don't know. I feel like, NASCAR, there's definitely some big rivalries. IndyCar there is as well. But I feel like when you're in a team environment, and especially in IndyCar, and we have no restrictions, we have to work together. That's the format of our team. We always feel like, 2 drivers work better together than, 2 single ones. So, next year will be a 4-car team for us, which will, we'll have more, of that working together. But Jimmy, 7-time champion, champion. What he's accomplished has been completely insane, I think, throughout his career. And then to take on this, totally different discipline is nuts, So I'm looking forward to it. He's a great guy. We've been friends. I've been a big fan of Jimmy Johnson for, probably 20 years. But we've been great friends for probably the last 5 or 6 years. So I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, it's been a real privilege having you on the program, Scott. One couple of questions from me. If you could win one more race in your lifetime, you could win one more race on the big stage, which one would it be? What do you visualise?
Indianapolis 500, man. It's the hardest race to win. To get everything right in that 3.5 hour period is insane. I'm very lucky to be on a short list of less than 70 people that have ever achieved that already. But you get on a much smaller list when you do it multiple times. So that's the race I really want to win again.
And just finally, you talked at the start of the interview about New Zealand, how you miss it, and it's home. Is it home? I mean, is it somewhere where you see yourself, putting your feet up and retiring and coming back to, or is America your home?
America's home right now. It's where our feet are firmly for most of the season. But no, nothing is like home. I think I would have a tough situation convincing my wife not to go back to New Zealand as well, even though she's British. So I love New Zealand. Everybody loves New Zealand. Anybody that gets to go to that place. For me, I didn't realize what New Zealand and how good we had it until I moved away at the age of 16, 18, 19 through that period, and started spending a lot less time back there. It's a beautiful country, amazing people. And I do miss the pies. I need, you can't get pies over here, man. So I need to get back down there and go some pies.
Okay. Well, we can help you with that one too. Hey, Scott, lovely to have you on, mate. Really appreciate it. And all the very best. A true champion, motorsport champion, IndyCar legend, Scott Dixon, Kiwi, New Zealander. Great stuff. Brilliant to have him on the program this morning. We'll put that up online as well. Put it on our Facebook.